I have heard the oppression of my people in the arena, and have heard their cry.
No, please don't one-shot me! How did you heal so much?
So I have come down to deliver them out of suffering, and bring them to a balanced game.
What's up gamers, it is TreeSap Jake here with yet another video, and now this time we're going to do something slightly different. Going to be taking a look at the patch notes and how that will affect us as Shaman players and as Death Knight players. So the two classes that I play, I'm going to be talking about how it's affecting us, what the positives are, what the negatives are, if anything's changing, just so you can keep aware and you know what's going on going into the next reset. So, let's get started. Starting with the first one here, players now deal 20% less damage to Death Knight, Hunter, and Warlock pets. Now, for Death Knights, this was quite a big thing. If you played RBGs as Unholy, your pet was dying all the time. All the time. It just got cleaved down. Same with Hunter pets, same with Warlock pets. You always were favored, especially if you're going into team fights in RBGs, you get cleaved down. Any battleground, anything like that. Even in Arena, I heard stories of people just focusing Hunter pets, all their damage cooldowns, get rid of it, and then just stop them from doing it. Thankfully, as a Death Knight, as Unholy Death Knight, it's very easy for us to get stuff out, but obviously if we get stuff out, we get our pet back out again. There's a 30-second cooldown. If they get it in that time, we've got no pet for 30 seconds, which can be really horrifying if you're doing your burst. So something to consider there, something to consider. But 20% less is good. That makes Unholy a bit more viable. It means that in 2v2, Unholy is a bit more viable, probably maybe even better than Frost at the minute. So important factor there, maybe even coming back in. I think that would be good. It also means that Hunters are going to have their pets out more. That means we can't focus their pets anymore. So I'd usually try and kill it in a 2v2 situation. If I'm playing Frost, use it as a way to get Chill Streak up. It means that it's going to be hard to do that. So Hunters are going to be a little bit stronger as well. Next point, a really big one. 2v2 dampening will begin again at 20% when both teams have either a tank or a healer. This is important. This means that 20% dampening starts again in any healer, any composition. It's pretty good for Elemental Shaman. Really, really good for Elemental Shaman. We are way better in dampening. We do a lot more kind of bursty damage, a little bit more rot on both sides. We don't have any mortal strike, so this is kind of like a 20% mortal strike for us starting off. So with all our cooldowns up, we actually should be able to win a little bit more. So that's good for us in the terms of like a healer versus, healer DPS versus healer DPS. That's pretty good for Elemental Shaman. The only problem is it means that there is no dampening against any double DPS comp. So it means that we're surviving more against the prop Pala go. So the prop Pala and a DPS, that's fine. That means we still got dampening. But against like Rogue Mage or Shadow Priest Rogue or Ret Rogue or Ret Boomy or anything like that, they're not going to start with dampening, which I think is okay. That's fine for double DPS comps, but it does mean that obviously sometimes the off healing from them is quite a bit higher. And as we know, hybrid healing is pretty strong at the minute. That goes to the shame for Shaman as well. But when you're playing Death Knight, which struggles with self healing a little bit, it's quite difficult. So now this is one that people have been desperate for, a Convoke nerf. So the Druid Convoke nerf. What I think about this is that Full Moon randomly happened. It doesn't always happen, but when it did, it was devastating. So this being off, this meaning that it can't get there, is good. That's good for us. It means that there's no one shot. Star Surge will still hit hard. I think it'll mean that there'll be more Star Surges potentially. It'll be a bit difficult. I don't think any of the damage is going. I think Convoke is still going to be good. I saw a tweet from Snoopy about Ferals. Again, like Feral Frenzy coming out. It means that Ferals are going to have more chances to have bites. I think this is a kind of like maybe a bit of a buff for Feral maybe in PvP. I get the feeling that people are sort of happy about Feral Frenzy coming out because it's not much of a big thing. It was the bites that were doing all the big damage. The Full Moon going out, still be wary of Convoke. It's not OP. You can still kick it, but with Full Moon leaving, it means the balanced Convoke is a little bit less scary, but the Star Surge is still hit really hard, so just be careful. That single target damage wise, it will do loads of damage. The Mage one here, I think people are quite happy about. 50%, that's a 15% decrease in PvP situations. It means that they're not going to be as beefy. What that means for Elemental Shaman, it means that you still got 3 things to purge. Means maybe you can burst through it a bit better, but again, like, I don't know, it's a bit difficult. I definitely favor purging them off, or at least purging a couple of them off and then hitting through it. But I mean, Purge is just your most effective way of going through all of that damage. It's 3 globals, you've got to do it, unfortunately. But I think if you can get through Try and Ward and get through all of the things, keep them clean as much as possible, it becomes better. This is good. It just means sort of like if you're popping off your cooldowns, it means there's less amount for them to kind of stop it. So it's positive. For DKs, no Purge. You got to go through that. This is a good thing for us. It means we can get through Fire Mages way easier. This is really good quality. So a lot of benefits for us, and not so much for Elemental Shaman. It's still very much a similar process of purging off their shields, but for the Death Knight, this is really good. Infernal Cascade. For those of you who aren't aware what Infernal Cascade is, this is what it does. When Combustion is active, Fire Blast grants you 9.0% increased fire damage for 5 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. So obviously, that's at 145. Most people have got 200 item level, so that goes up significantly. Let's say it goes up to 12%. 2 times 12, that's 24. 24%, that's almost 25% extra damage during combustion. It will shred. This is reduced by 33%. You can kind of take that. That means that essentially in PvP it does 6% extra at that 145. If you say it does 12%, slightly higher, I'm not sure on the actual statistics on that one, but let's say it does that, that brings it down again to 9. So it reduces it quite a bit. That means that combustion doesn't hit as damn hard. That doesn't mean it's not scary. This is still good. I think people will still use this. You still got to be careful. What this means for Elemental Shaman is that Purge Combust, nothing changes here. It just means that you're not going to get one banged as easily. So something to consider. Meteor might not hit as hard during combustion. Still got to be careful for the Hodges. If you're playing against Fire Mage, Holy Paladin, you still got to be careful. Or Fire Mage Rogue, still got to be careful of that. But again, you got to respect it still. But it means there's just less of a big bang situation. For Death Knight, again, similar sort of thing. It means that they may not shred through anti-magic shell a little bit, as quickly, but it's still dangerous. This isn't a nerf. This is just a fine-tuning. Mages would still be happy with this. This was probably needed. It makes them less sort of like one-shotty, but they're still one-shotty if you get what I mean. So there's they've got to play a little bit better just to get that. But it means that there's less damage. So they've really got to get the CC right to get it instead of just one banging people. So still scary. Mages are still scary. Just remember that. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to start winning against mages. They are still scary. This is just a bit more fine-tuning there. This is literal balance right now. So moving on to the Paladins. Now the Paladin changes are so nice. This is what we needed. I'm a little bit biased. I want a little bit more just to even things out, or just to buff up the other healers like Resto Druid, like Mistweaver. I'd love to see more to help them out, but this is a good start. So looking at Divine Favor. So for those of you who don't know what Divine Favor is, I'm going to hover over it now. Your next Holy Light or Flash of Light is increased by 100%, casts 60% faster, and is unable to be interrupted. You can purge this. So for Shaman, you can purge this. If you see that little symbol with a hand that's kind of glowing, it means you can you can purge. You can purge Divine Favor. What this means now for us as Elemental Shaman is that obviously the cooldown's increased by another 5 seconds, which is good. So every 30 seconds, that's really, really nice. That means they've got, uptime is sort of over the course of a game. They've got less time to press it, which is good. That means it's got a hard cast. But the cast is now increased by 30%. This is insane. The reason why it's insane, the reason why it's really great for us is because it gives us more time to purge Divine Favor. Sometimes you got to get through stuff, but now that they can only cast 30%, it means that Shamans are the big meta to countering Holy Paladin. This is a good thing. This is a good thing for Elemental Shaman. It means that we are more needed. It means that there is more of a chance for us now to purge the Divine Favor and get a kick in. They're going to find that really hard. If they queue into Elemental Shamans, they're going to have to try and fake us even with Divine Favor. So, interesting to consider. For Death Knights, not much of a change. You can't purge this, but it just means that there is less of a chance that when you're wailing on them, that they suddenly get topped within the global. There's more of a chance that if you're doing a CC setup, or if you're putting a lot of pressure, they've got less of a chance to use Divine Favor properly, seeing as their cast time is now halved. It's quite good. This is positive. This is really positive for us. So it means that for those of us who are trying to burst, if you're playing with Windwalker or if you're playing with Warrior, this is good for us. It means that we can really keep the pressure on even through Divine Favor, which before felt kind of like, oh, they've got Divine Favor. I guess they're just top then. So positive. Protection and Retribution. Now, Word of Glory nerf is what I've been screaming for. If you followed me on Twitter, it was needed. 20% I think is fair. I would have gone more. Because I think it's redonkulous. 25, 27k Word of Glory hits. 20% of that still brings it down under just about 20k. I mean, they're still going to do a lot of healing, but this is better. This means that their general Word of Glory healing, so the stuff that does like 5, 7k, good. Very positive. This was needed. Prot's going to start to fall out. That means that they're just not going to do anything. They're just going to, they're not going to be as good. Rep, off healing is nice. It means they're going to focus a bit more on damage, but it means that when you're doing damage to them, there's no way in hell they're coming back from it, especially, you know, without the crits. If they crit, then it'll be pretty much the same thing, but without the crits, you know, it'll be a bit crazy. I think this is really good. This is a really positive change. My overall feelings about all of this is that Blizzard are doing a fantastic job of balancing. This is a good balancing, you know, little snippet. I think it's awesome. This is really nice. This is not nerfing things too hard. They didn't go to Convoke and go negative 20%. They said, okay, Full Moon is doing a lot of damage. We'll take that out. We're looking at Try and Warn. Okay, we reduce it by 15%. It's still great. Infernal Cascade, 33%. So we take it down from 9% to 6% base. Good. Divine Favor, we halved it. You know, it's clearly quite OP. Paladins are just dominating because, you know, they got this as well. Really good. And then obviously the Prot and the Rep Paladins, 20%. It could have been more. They could have just smacked it with a 50% there. But 20% means that they're still viable. It still does a lot of healing, but not nearly as much in the sort of a lower end spectrum. Good positive change. Blizzard have done a very fantastic job. So overall, what does this mean for Elemental Shamans? Well, obviously, we didn't get nerfed. That's a big plus. DKs, we got a buff. With at least Unholy did, with the, you know, to Death Knight pets. That's really positive. For Elemental Shaman, this is really good. So all of the really strong classes that you were sort of may have struggled with, dealing with Paladins, etc., we're now suddenly top tier. Really, really good spot for Elemental Shaman. This is a really positive change. So going into next week, it should be really good for us. We should be having lots and lots of fun and less chance of getting one banged by mages. So that's a possibility. All right, guys, that's everything. Let me know what you think about the changes below. Let me know whether you agree with me, whether you think it's going to be positive for us, negative for us. Any concerns, any queries, anything, just ask me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like the video. Go follow me on Twitter, and if you're really kind, please go check out my Patreon. It really helps me out, especially as you know, times are so tough at the minute. So if you want to help me with that, I really appreciate that. Otherwise, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, catch you later.